Is happening. Session is being recorded. Um, if you don't want to be seen in the recordings, please feel free to turn off your webcam throughout the session. Please do keep your microphones muted unless you are invited to speak. I will help you with that because sometimes we get distracted. If you do have questions, feel free to use the chat anytime. I will be monitoring it. If the question isn't answered during the presentation, then we'll have some time at the end to answer those questions. The closed caption feature is enabled, so you can activate it by clicking on the show captions down at the bottom toolbar or CC live transcript. If neither of those are available or visible, I should say, you can click the button that says more, and then you should be able to find it. It is now my pleasure to introduce our presenter, Dr. Treya Allen from the University of Arizona and Pima Community College. The title of the session is Equity in Times Like These. I am very excited to hear about this, so I'm going to let Dr. Allen take over. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you so much, Dr. Allen.
Well, hey, good people. I just need to make sure, can you see my screen? Can you give me a thumbs up if you can? So great. Okay, well, hey, good people. My name is Treya Allen, and we're all colleagues in this room. Unless you're a grad student or an undergrad, then you can call me Dr. Allen. But I wanted to take a minute to just kind of foreground what we're going to talk about here. Um, Let me just be very clear. Equity has not changed, y'all. It hasn't. And a lot of the stuff that I'm going to talk about today is really not meant to like give you a refresher. It's more so to like get you charged up. So we're going to have this discussion, and please feel free to put things in the chat, Zoom emojis, raise your hand. I can't see them, but my bomb.com moderator can, and she's going to tug me a little bit. So this is where this is coming from. Like, it feels like we're in a new dystopian world, but y'all, equity has not changed. Our mission has not changed at all. So really quickly, where we're going to go. Now, I also just want to be very transparent here. Hello, my name is Treya, and I suck at writing outcomes. So I threw these bad boys, I threw my attempt to write the outcome into, I think, Google Gemini. And Google Gemini came out with this stuff, but I'm going to like paraphrase. I just want to point out the elephant of the room, how our social and political organizational context kind of influences how we go about doing this work. I want us to think about the policies and the practices and even decision-making processes within our sphere of influence. So what are the things that I can change or affect change in? I want you to look at those through this equity lens. And then by the end of the session, you don't have to have one, but I want you to have at least one idea. It doesn't even have to be a well thought out strategy of how you will re-engage, you will re-up, or even think about doing this. And then finally, because learning science tells me if you don't do something with this within 48 hours, you're not you're not going to do anything. So I see a question in the chat, and I'm so glad that you know me well enough to know that I'm going to give y'all an operational definition of equity so that we are on the same page. So thank you, Dr. Chris. Okay, so we're going to do this thing called a waterfall. I want us to acknowledge or name the elephant in the room, the things that we are experiencing in the classroom, whether it be social political policies or the latest reality show. News that's going on right now. What are the things that are happening? But you're not going to just hit submit. I'm going to give you like 30 seconds to think of all of the things that are impacting, whether it's economic, moral, social, political, social. What are the things that are impacting education right now? So go ahead and put those in the chat, but don't hit submit yet because we're going to waterfall it. And also, like, have your chat open so you can see all of the answers. Did somebody point out something that maybe you didn't? Okay. So what are the elephants in the room right now? And I'm going to count you down from 10, and we're all going to hit submit. And actually, before I submit, listen to me. If y'all don't want to be on camera, if you don't want people to know that you're in this room because you work in a hostile work environment, feel free to change your name. Please do. And I know Lori said it, but I want to re-up that as well. All right, so here we go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go ahead and hit submit on your chat. Oh, the value of the doctoral degree. Absolutely. DEI being deprioritized, federal administration, demoralization. Absolutely. 100%. What are some of the other elephants? And if you need more time to think about this, absolutely feel free. Oh my gosh, the value of education in general. Yes. All of these things are happening. War, or, I was going to say something else, but yep. Okay. So when we do not name the elephant in the room and we're all just kind of tiptoeing around things and, what does this look like? We're just all kind of showing up to work with the same understanding, the same students, the same institution in the middle of a dystopian world, that can easily become tiring because I see the elephant. I know y'all see the elephant, but nobody is saying anything about the elephant because, still saying things about the elephant in the room, even the attack on DEI can quickly place you as a target. And so I want to acknowledge that while also saying, y'all aren't crazy. This stuff is going on. And as much as it feels like, or it seems like, oh my goodness, this can't be this. My favorite phrase these days is, this is not the world that I grew up in. Okay. For some of us, this is exactly the world we grew up in. But acknowledging the elephant, one, does two things. It brings about a consensus, and it also prevents you from feeling like, man, I'm being gaslit. I know this stuff is happening. And so I'm bearing witness that, yes, this stuff is happening, right? So you all have mentioned a lot of these things, and I thought, oh man, is it going to be too much to pull some of the headlines? We even had an executive order to end this thing called diversity, equity, and inclusion. And okay, I'm not even going to deal with the diversity and the inclusion part. I'm just going to focus on equity, right? And one of the things that strikes me the most when I think about this is we had an entire executive order where our current administration made the statement that Americans deserve a government committed to serving every person with equal dignity and respect. And if you are like me, I don't watch the news anymore, and you're like me and you're like, well, what America are we talking about and what persons are we talking about? Because the very things that are being attacked right now are the very things that have been put into place in order to serve every American. But the buzzword that is being used right now is equality. And equity and equality are not the same thing. So as Dr. Chris, who didn't know that they were all up in my slide deck, asked for an operational definition, we will get to that. But the other thing I want to remind y'all that Coretta Scott King said is that struggle is a never-ending process. Freedom is never really won. You earn it and win it in every generation. So it is not enough that the civil rights movement happened. We are still responsible for securing freedom for the next generation until they have to pick up their banner, right? So we don't have the privilege or the option to rely on the work that was done in the 40s, 50s, 60s, heck, even, the entire 20th century and even the 19th century preceding that. We have to, it's still our responsibility in our generation. So, as Dr. Chris asked me to do, Dr. Chris asked for a definition of equity. And so this one comes from the National Equity Project. but I've tweaked it a little bit. But I still want y'all to know, if you're like Googling, you're like, Treya, got that from the National Equity Project. The equity definition in education, because equity in finance is something completely different, is that every learner receives the tools needed to develop to their fullest potential academically and socially, regardless of race, gender, or other demographic characteristics, age, religion, sexual orientation. Like, it does not matter who the learner is. We are working to ensure that they develop to their fullest potential. Now, here is the thing about equity. Equity means that sometimes Treya as a learner does not need as much, but maybe Lori needs a little bit more. And I don't say, hey, I didn't get what Lori needed. I didn't get what Lori got. That is the difference between equity and equality. Equality, everybody gets the same thing. But equity must consider where the individual is starting from and where they're going. So, regardless if you are a teacher, an administrator, a staff person, this question of equity should be in the question of equity should be in every decision, process, practice or policy that we make. And the way to kind of think about this a little clearer is, I want to shift us a little bit from just saying equity, equity, equity. Equity is now becoming an education buzzword. So I want to shift from thinking about the way we think about equity in education typically deals with an achievement gap, which is a deficit-based notion of who's achieving based on racial demographics, and those racial demographics are always compared to white students. So how are Blacks achieving when compared to white students? How are Hispanic students achieving as it compares to white students? And we typically see this in K-12 a lot, but the conversation continues even into college, right? Because they don't just stop going to school in college. But also we can see like achievement gap rhetoric, even when it comes to, the wage gap and who's making what money, the gender gap, which, in both of these, the gender pay and gender wage gap, which are also being compared to white men. Right. And what's very interesting to me when we think about the achievement gap is we never think about or kind of disaggregate poor white students and what that looks like. Nobody thinks about that. But I want to shift us from thinking about, deficit-based, student-laden, students who are having to carry this like deficit-based notion of an achievement gap to this idea of an educational debt. And this comes directly from Gloria Ladson-Dillon's work, where she's really thinking about, instead of, us getting caught up in the rhetoric of achievement gap, achievement gap, achievement gap, can we think about equity in the terms of what do we owe based on history, based on socio-political history, based on economic history, based on morality and ethical, moral history and our ethics behind that. So what that would look like for us is understanding those four components. What is the history of not just this country in education, but our states, our regions, our institutions? What is this? What are the socio-political decisions that have been made that exclude people, that have excluded people for a very long time? And in excluding said people have created a deficit that continues to compound annually. One of the greatest examples of this is there is a generation of students from, I always get the state mixed up, West Virginia or Virginia. So if you're from either of those states, I'm very sorry. But, we had Brown v. Board that came down, and the entire state, either West Virginia or Virginia, was basically like, nope, we will not comply. And so they closed all their public schools. And so for about 5 to 7 years, students of color did not have a place to go to because the state issued vouchers for private schools and Catholic-based or religious-based schools for white students to attend schooling. So in that 5 to 7 years where those Black and brown students or students of color did not get to engage in public schools, despite having to still pay taxes, state taxes and federal taxes, what ends up happening is we have this generation of learners called the lost generation who could never actually make up the deficit of not having schooling for almost a decade because the state did not want to comply. So it's very important that we look at our socio-political histories in our states. Here in Arizona, we used to do this thing with Hispanic students where we would make them complete grades 1A, 1B, and 1C. And then, which is the equivalent of kindergarten first or second, or first, second, and third. So we would hold students, regardless of their age and development, in this like holding pattern for 3 years, not because they didn't pass or not because they didn't have the ability to do so, but because we had these preconceived notions of what it was to be a Hispanic person in Arizona at the time, right? And then economic looks at two things. One, the lost, just the loss of economic prosperity, social mobility, but also the loss of individual people, the brain power, the intellectual power of a human being, how we lose that when there is an economic debt in education to be paid. And then finally, our moral history, like where did our morals lie? And what now, thinking about this from an equity lens, if you will, what is our moral obligation as educators, no matter where you sit in an institution, to make good on closing and repaying the educational debt? So before I go any further, and tell you how to apply this, really quickly in the chat, tell me something that you've been like, whoa, this makes me rethink about some things, or whoa, this has engaged me. This is engaging to me. So really one word that you're thinking right now in the chat about what you've heard thus far. And I just want to make sure I haven't missed any questions. Lori, I can't see the chat. I've lost it, but please don't let
I'll
me.
keep an eye
Thank
on it.
you.
I pinned you, so it may be that you lost the chat because of that. I can unpin you if you'd like.
No. That's fine. We'll go ahead. So please continue to put your thoughts. And if you are like a tinker thinker and you have to draw or doodle, please feel free to draw and doodle as we move ahead. Oh, okay. Yep, I see you, Miss Laurie. Yep. Yep, absolutely. Okay, so how do we actually apply this framework? Because, in education, we are notorious for being like, here's how you should be thinking about this. But we don't actually teach people how to apply it. So when we are talking about the educational debt or the educational deficit that these policies, procedures, and practice throughout history have created that have brought us to this moment, where I would start is history. What is my regional, institutional, state history, city history around education? And if you are rushing to take notes, I also forgot to tell y'all, I'm going to provide these slides to Ms. Lori and Dita. Sociopolitically, what are the intentional spaces, places? This includes policies, both de jure and de facto policies that have created exclusion that have impacted education. One of the things in Arizona, here's an example of in Arizona. In southern Arizona, the KKK attempted at some point to slide in and create a home base here. But the Catholic Church was not having it here in southern Arizona. They were like, absolutely not. So So because of this, the first schools that were established in Tucson, where I'm located, were through the Catholic school. In 1870, they started with all male education. And then around 1890, they brought in female based education. So Dr. Chris Foster says, why do we remain in the same place? The gap widens, more students are at risk. We keep trying new things. If we cannot change minds, we cannot change outcomes. And so I think, okay, so this is a really important question. And so what I'm suggesting is equity is still the same work, but we have to think about it differently. We can't throw things at the system or at the symptoms of a system if we're not thinking about it holistically. So that moves us on to our economic history. What are the economic impacts that the decisions of our past, our history, our socio-political decisions, how have those impacted education? Because we say all the time that the kids are not doing well, that the learners are not doing well, and we keep trying things, right? We have a really bad habit of really expensive, textbooks, learning systems, apps, software, all the things. But if we are not addressing that this stuff happens and we're trying to clear it up by just throwing money at it, we're still going to have the same outcomes because we're still not addressing the deficit created by these practices, policies, historically, sociopolitically, economically, and even morally, right? So the guiding question for morals are what are the moral and ethical obligations within my role to address these concerns? That sounds like a really big question, but it's not, y'all. Because remember, we're talking about the power of one. What's one thing that I can do? And then the second thing is that one thing that I'm deciding to do, what is in my sphere of influence? I am not telling anybody in here to take a trip to DC because gas prices are high right now and sit on the steps, of Congress lobbying. I'm not asking you to do that. I'm asking what is one thing in your sphere of influence that we can do, right? So that begs the question of, Treya, you talking a real good game. Where exactly do I start, or what do I go back to? Easy. Let's start with the state and regional histories of education. Like I told you, in my state, prior to Brown v. Board, if there was one Black student in a school, state territory, Arizona territorial laws, and new state laws required you pull that Black child out and you create a separate school for them. Did not matter if it was equitable, didn't matter if it was equal, you just had to create another school, right? What's your institutional history and data? And I'm going to give you an example of that. Institutional history and data does not have to be drastic, y'all. It doesn't have to be horrible either. But knowing where your institution started is super, super important. Knowing the data, like who's graduating, who's not, what are the demographics, right? Because our demographics will tell us other things about our group of students that we are serving, or I'm going to say learners, because it's not necessarily just students. What are our course, our campus, our college demographics? And then here's the thing, identify one practice or process within your sphere of influence to take action on, just one, right? And so what this can look like is I teach psychology at Pima Community College. I love the community college, y'all. It does a service like no other. It is the bridge between community and higher learning, community and like you think of any outside institution, whether it's marketplace, occupation, the community college is doing the work in ways that a four-year institution was never created to. Right. So I work at Pima Community College as a faculty person in the psychology, student success, and African American studies departments. Our institution is Hispanic serving. Right. So we have made a commitment to go beyond just being labeled as Hispanic serving. We are an institution that is looking to serve Hispanic students. Specifically in ways that are meaningful for them. The physical location that I work at is Desert Vista campus. It's about an hour and a half from the US Mexico border. Um, an hour if you actually, an hour and a half if you do the speed limit. But people on I-19 can't drive. 68% of my students in my course are inclusive of bilingual students whose first language is the Spanish language, right? Another 26% of my students across all the classes that I teach here drive up directly from Mexico to come and take classes, right? Historically, in Arizona, there were exclusionary practices that prevented Hispanic students from progressing or matriculating in meaningful ways, um, so that they could actually earn degrees, right? And if they did earn degrees, they wouldn't be able to work in places here. And the same is true of my 4-year institution that I work at. I also work at the University of Arizona. Like, we had Black students who could not become educators, or who couldn't get an education degree at some point because they could not pass a swim test. And they couldn't pass the swim test because they weren't allowed to swim in the rec pool, which is where all swim tests were done. So, understanding the demographics of Pima Community College, I was like, okay, we're using OER textbooks. This is actually a screenshot of my Bright Space course. I was like, I'm going to go and find this textbook in Spanish, since 68% of my students are bilingual and 26% of them, drive up from the border where Spanish is the predominant language. So I went and found this book for free in Spanish, right? And so that's this book here, the Psicología Introductoria second edition, the web version, completely free for students. Because what's one thing that I can do to impact like the cognitive load of bilingual student learners? And that is finding the materials in their language, their first language, that reduces cognitive load. So what I mean by cognitive load is this. I teach in English. That student has to translate what I'm saying to a language in their brains, right? So that's one load. Then they have to actually take action on the instructions, second load. Then they have to translate that action back into English, that's the third load, and then submit it, right? And most of my students who are bilingual typically have keyboard functions. Everything is set up in Spanish, right? So in addition to having this textbook, I'm like, hey, y'all, you feel comfortable delivering this presentation in Spanish? Do it. You feel comfortable turning your paper in Spanish? Do it. They're like, but what if you can't read it? We're going to get through it. Do it. But the thing is I want to reduce the cognitive load so that we can actually focus on the learning portion of it without you having to jump additional barriers in order to get there, right? So that is just one example of what it looks like to look at the education deficit and then make one decision, even if the decision is as small as getting a textbook, right? So I like to use this quote a lot. If anybody was like, ew, when was I ever going to use Shakespeare in my life? I'm going to just read this quote to you. What is in a name? That which we call call a rose by any other name would smell as sweet, right? It doesn't matter if, right now I know that some people are being targeted because of their equity practices. At my 4-year institution, we were instructed to scrub websites. I could have no mention. My whole entire title at the University of Arizona had to change because we wanted to be in compliance and not make ourselves a target. But it does not matter if you never say the word equity, right? Some people are going to be like, no, Treya, for me, it doesn't matter if I don't say equity. Once I close my door and I start teaching, I am the one who is responsible, whether anyone believes me or not. So I see a question in here. Are you adding the Spanish version on the college bookstore website or just in the LMS? So what I actually did, Laura, is I reached out to my department chairs and I said, hey, I found the textbook in Spanish. And now they are making it available department wide, because we use OER textbooks and most of us, they're built into the course shell. Everyone gets a course shell that they modify. It's now a part of the course shell. So regardless if you use it or not, it's in there. And that was just one thing that I could do. Uh, C is a sweet, thank you. Okay, yep. And also, if you want that textbook because you use that textbook, I absolutely will make sure to get it to you as well. Okay, so it doesn't matter if you can't say the name, we can still do the action, right? So here is what I want to leave y'all with before I open up for questions. So Toni Morrison said, I tell my students when you get these jobs that you have been so brilliantly trained for, just remember that your real job is that if you are free, you need to free somebody else. If you have some power, then your job is to empower somebody else. This is not just a grab bag candy game. And so this is my challenge to each of us. Y'all, equity has not changed. Our history has not changed. As much as we see folks trying to rewrite history right now, none of that stuff has changed. But we have a moral obligation. No. I don't want to say that. Moral is personal. We have an ethic. There's a difference between ethics and moral. Ethics are for the good of the whole. Moral are personal beliefs. We have an ethical obligation as educators to continue the work to ensure that every student, every learner in our courses, every learner who walks through our institution, every learner who comes up to the counter to ask about financial aid, we have an ethical obligation to reduce the educational deficit, even if we did not cause it, right? Because some of you are like, how are we supposed to do this one thing? They're like these huge things. I'm not asking you to do the huge thing. What's one thing that you can do in the role that you currently have within the next 48 hours that would help you to advance equity that much more, or to help you close or pay off the education deficit? So, if you feel led to share, let's do another waterfall before I close this out for questions. What's one small thing that you can do within your sphere of influence, regardless of where you are? 30 seconds, and then I'm going to count us down to 10. Okay, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go ahead and submit if you feel so led. Yes. Diane, like, this seems small, but it is so huge. Just reaching out to students. My favorite email to send is, hey, just checking on you. Reply back and let me know you're good. That is huge. Lori, look at you, Miss Lori. Like, I'm gonna allow them to turn it in, right? And y'all, start small. Start small. No one is expecting you to change the world overnight. But if you start with one practice, one small practice, that can actually improve over time. And it becomes easier every single semester when you add just another thing. So I'm going to open it up to questions. That's my presentation, y'all. But does anybody have questions or things that you want to share that you heard in this presentation? I think we have about 10 minutes. No, 9 minutes. Oh, and feel free to put it in the chat, come off mute, all the things. Yes, Miss Diane.
Well, I've heard what you said about the students not being able to come across the border, or if they came across the border, they couldn't have the same equities. And the thing is that I was at a school, National University, that I was at Brookline. Uh, I was brought there specifically to work with the school to bring all the accreditations back. And we had the same thing. We had students who were having troubles getting across back in 2017. So are you saying it's still occurring? Sounds like it.
Absolutely. But ours is not necessarily that the students cannot get across. Sometimes it's they can't get across. Sometimes it's they have to work. Sometimes they are responsible for their families. And
Right.
so, one of the things that I've done with my classes, when I was here last year, I talked about high flex classrooms. But all of my classes are set up so students can succeed whether they can be in the classroom or not. And I explained to them, like, look, there's a grace policy. You can't make it to class, you can still get the class done. You can still do this class 100% online. Now, here's what I don't want to convince y'all of walking away. Y'all, that is a crap ton of work. It is. I don't even want to sit here and like pretend like it's not. But because I am so used to setting up a classroom, everything's in the course shell, pre-recorded lectures, labs, everything they could possibly need to succeed is already in the classroom. So they're not emailing me panicked. Um, and that goes for anything, even if they weren't able to get across the border to come to class, there's still an hour and a half commute to get there. An hour if you don't pay attention to the speed limits. So between transportation, working, home issues, family issues, life just be out here lifing, period. Our learners experience a myriad of issues. And so instead of me making it harder for them, I'm like, it's just easy because I've been trained in high flex to set up every class like it's an online class first. It has the benefit of a teacher, a live teacher second. So yes, and there are other issues as well.
Well, thank you.
Mhm. Other questions or things that you are, other aha moments is another way of saying that as well.
I have a question if nobody else does. I feel like can, I have, I don't know, I feel like I know enough to do work in my own classroom, but I'm wondering if you have examples of how to influence your sphere of colleagues. Um, because I feel like that's right. I can control, well, to some extent, I can control what's happening in my classroom, but it's the people outside in the college.
I'm going to pull on leadership theory here, right? So when you're in leadership theory, tells us this: do not, okay, grain of salt, y'all. Don't worry about the old dogs. Worry about the eager puppies. One of the greatest things that happened to me when I first started teaching, oh my gosh, 20 plus years ago, is I had a very experienced tenured teacher who pulled me into their classroom and said, hey, here's how I do things. Do I do everything like Dr. Brian Carter? Absolutely not. That man is a tech genius. No, I don't. But it was his willingness to like pull me in because he saw that I wanted to be successful. A lot of times, you can show people better than you can tell them. So that would be my example: is like set the example, be willing to share. So if any of y'all teach psych on here and you're like, what do you do for this unit? Text me. I'm gonna send you all my stuff, because why gatekeep, right? I would say that's the thing, is to show rather than tell. And for the faculty members, the old dogs who are like, I've done it this way for 20 plus years, I'm not doing this, blah, blah, blah. What you'll find is as more and more of the eager puppies or eager learners are willing to try, practice, demonstrate, show, and then come back and report, what ends up pulling and swaying us are results of others, especially if we're, I don't want to say stuck in our ways, but we created a routine. And psychologically, it's hard to break, it is hard to break routines, especially if we've been doing them. So what I would say is practice being the best version of yourself. That also means self-care. I know we don't say this a lot, but one of the ways that we can like ensure that we're being equitous in all our decisions and our processes is to ensure we're taking care of self first. How can you implement anything, help anybody if you are gasping on fumes, essentially? Because teacher burnout is real, and no amount of rest is going to get rid of that. It is actual the disconnection of cognitive processes running at night while you're asleep and preparing for the next day. I know that was a long answer, but the first thing is take care of self, then show and grow.
I could ask a follow-up question because
Yes.
you mentioned preparing your classes like it's high flex. And I like that because I mean, no, I feel like no matter where we are, stuff happens to students. Somebody gets sick in their family, right? They have to miss class for any number of any reason, right? Um, but then you also talked about the cognitive load and doing online, like I guess I just would love what you do for yourself to balance the two because maintaining that online environment at such a high capacity is a lot of work for a face-to-face class where like I'm in the middle where I'm like, oh, I know the benefit of having all the stuff online for the students, but the work to get it there, like it's balancing the two because I know then on the other end, if it's all there, it's also easier on me. But it's
Yes.
getting there.
This didn't come right away. I want to tell you, like I have worked, I don't teach the same course twice. Like, yes, it's Psych 101, but every year I learn something different and I shift the course shell a little bit and then copy that one over. So over time, it gets easier to kind of do that. But you are absolutely right. There is a balance there. And when I first started out in like high flex, even if I'm not, so this semester, unfortunately, I didn't have a room set up with technology that would allow me to do high flex unless I wanted to be carrying around a laptop while instructing. But what I did do is I took like the parts of the high flex or so hybrid flexible classes is what a high flex course is, y'all, for those who don't know. And it basically means one class, two modalities. You can teach online and in person at the same time or asynchronously and in person. For me, because I'm not doing the like virtual class and the face-to-face class at the same time, I'm actually doing a face-to-face and an asynchronous class. So those are the two modalities. But I started with the online version first. Like what do my students need to know if they never come in physical contact with me or real life contact with me? And I set the shell up that way. And then like every year when I learn something, I duplicate it and then tweak things a little bit. The balance comes in for me when I'm in the middle of the night going, oh, this would be really cool. I'm going to create this new thing. And learning how to say, let the class stand. The students are going to tell you if it works or if it doesn't work. And also the other part of that is I don't wait until the end of the semester to do like the student survey. We do it in 4 parts. First 4 weeks, we have a week. I literally call it family meeting. What's working well, what's not working well. Second 8 weeks is an individual. Dear Dr. Allen, here's how I'm experiencing the class. The 12th week mark, because we're on semesters, 16-week semesters here. 12th week mark is like a one-on-one. So conference, what's going on in life, and then finally at the end of the class, they get their course survey. Whenever you're taking data this way, you can't just take the data. You got to make changes to the course, right? So for the first 4 weeks of class, I kind of let students flounder and figure out the reading on their own. Because I know I have a solution for it, but a solution before a problem presents is just wasted space. So this is a balancing thing. Like, let the students tell you what needs to happen. So in family meeting, reading this 1,000-page OER text always comes up. Dr. Allen, the book is there's just so much to digest. And then we talk about what it is to like set a pacing chart for reading. Reading strategies, how to read a college level text. But I typically, the balance point in there is letting students tell you what they need. And then over time, I've perfected this high flex thing. I was floundering when I first started. I think that's time, Miss Lori.
It is, but thank you so much for that because you just gave us, I don't know, what, 10 more things, 10 more little things we could do of real world examples. Like I do a survey, but I didn't think to organize it the way you did. Like, yes, thank you. That was super fantastic. Thank you all so much for joining. Let me see. I can't remember what I'm supposed to say here. Thank you, Dr. Allen. That was wonderful. I certainly learned a lot. I really appreciate it. And we hope that all the rest of you found this session valuable. I recorded it. I'm going to stop the recording now. So it will become available to you